Tractate Bava Metzia, page 89, the key subject is a laborer who needs to do work. While he's working, what he allowed or not allowed to do as far as eating from the produce themselves. Imagine someone walking in a field or someone walking with the produce that contain food, what exactly is permitted or not to do. But for sure we're going to learn other important employment laws. So here we are, 6 lines from top of page 89, Tanu Rabbanan. There is a pasuk we learned in the previous dapim. The Torah said, Lo tachsom shor bedisho. The Torah said in the book of Dvarim, chapter 25, you shall not muzzle an ox when the ox doing a job for you. And there is a produce lying there on the ground, you let him eat. So Tanu Rabbanan daish, which means that applies to the threshing while you're doing that. So מה דייש מיוחד דבר שהוא גידולי קרקע הוא פועל אוכל בו. So the same way when you're dealing with threshing is exceptionally unique, because here you have an item that grown from the ground. So the same, and he said, and Bish'at Gemarrah Melacha, when you completed the work, so he said the laborer can eat from that. Af kol shegidulei karka po'el ochel bo. So that applies to anything that grown on the ground. So the laborer may eat it. Now the exclusion is יצא החולב והמחבץ והמגבן. The exclusion is if one milks a cow, in those days they used to do that directly, or one who makes butter from cream and one who makes cheese from milk, שאין גידולי קרקע ואין פועל אוכל בו. So they are not grown from the ground, so therefore the laborer may not eat them. So here we have the Rambam. The Rambam in Hilchot Schirut, chapter 12, you see it also in Choshen Mishpat 337, a laborer may eat if he is occupied with produce that grows from the ground. If it is attached to the ground, it must be at the completion of its work. If it is detached from the ground, it must be before the completion of the last stage of work involving the final obligation of the produce, which is being subject to tithes or chala. One who performs work with an item that does not grow from the ground, which is milking an animal, may not eat. The same applies to one who works with produce attached to the ground. If the produce is not at the stage of the completion of its work, which is one who hoes in a vineyard or even weeds onion and garlic by removing the small ones. So again, the Gemara asks, Lama li? Mi ki tavo becherem re'echa? Nafka. So why you need this exposition? We can derive from the pasuk, when we come to your neighbor's vineyard, which is Deuteronomy 23. So these actions are not performed in a vineyard. So the Gemara said, Itztrich. Sarkel atach amenaol uchtiv kamma, lerabot kol baalei kamma. Since the Torah used the word standing, so you include all that stands, which is produce of all kinds. One might have thought that it also serves to include items that are not grown from the ground. So Kamash Melan. So here the Tana teaches that this halacha applies only to food that grows from the ground. Tanya Idach. Daish. We learn this word, Lo tachsom shor bedisho, the threshing. So ma daish meyuchad. The uniqueness of threshing is that it's applied to an item that is in the time of the completion of its work, and the laborer may eat from it, דבר שבשעת גמר מלאכה פועל אוכל בו. So the same way, so too, אף כל שהוא בשעת גמר מלאכה פועל אוכל בו. Any item that in the time of the completion its work, the laborer may eat it. So what's the exclusion? יצא מנקש בשומים ובבצלים, the one who eat garlics and onions. So a person is hired to remove the wild growth from among garlic or onions. So he's basically separating between the large one and the small one. That's part of the completion of the work. So Rashi explains that those small onions, you not throw them away, you give it to the owner, and they can be used as a food. So he said, "Oil ve'en gmar malacha, ein poel ochel b'hem." Since it's not completion of the work, the laborer may not eat from them. So the Nimukei Yosef elaborates, and he said that you can derive also from the pasuk, "Ve'el kelyecha lo titen." Here is the pasuk. "Lama li ve'el kelyecha lo titen nafka, lo tzricha de'af al gav de'kameshalef ktine mi ben alimei." That's what we said, that when you separate it, as Rashi explains, between the small and large onion, so you basically take those onions that he uprooted and gives it to an owner. So the Torah teaches, then Nimukei Yosef said, from the concept of threshing, that the laborer cannot eat from that leftover small onion, because it's not completion of the work, because the essence of the work is for the large onion, because attached to the ground, and he is not occupying himself, as she said, with the completion of the work. The third exposition from the word daish, Tanya idach daish madaish miuchad, דבר שלא נגמרה מלאכתו למעשר, פועל אוכל בו, אף כל שלא נגמרה מלאכתו למעשר, פועל אוכל בו. So the same way as threshing is unique, because the item whose work is not yet completed for tithes, the laborer may eat from it. So too, any item, the work is not completed for tithe, the laborer may eat it. So it's excluded from that. יצא הבודל בתמרים ובגרו גרות. You excluded one who separates dates and dry figs, which are initially gathered together and stuck to each other before the laborer splits them apart with a rake. So they said, הואיל ונגמרה מלאכתו לעשר, so since its work is completed for tithes, when it's being gathered from the field, ein poel ochel bo, a laborer may not eat from it. So the Gemarrah asks a question, Tanya abodel bitmarim ugorot poel ochel bo. We just learned a braita that one who separates dates and dry fig, laborer may eat from that. Amar Rav Papa ki Tanya hi betochal nani. Talk about unripe date. So they puckle before they are ready and placed in the ground in order to rip it fully. So when you're dealing with this type of fruits, it's not completion, even after they've been separated from each other. Tanya, idach daish, ma daish miuchad davar shlo nigmara mlachto lechala, u poel ochel bo. The same way threshing is unique, it's not complete for the chala, and the laborer can eat it. אף כל דבר שלו נגמר מלאכתו לחלה פועל אוכל בו. יצא הלש והמקטף והאופה. You excluded what? One who a smooth over water with an oil, and one who bakes, so its work is completed for chala. Then פועל אוכל בו ולא נגמר מלאכתו לעשר. So laborer cannot eat it, but it's a work already been completed for tithe, when the produce is brought inside the house. So it's already stated that one works has been completed for produce which is subject to tithe, a labor may no longer partake from it. So Rakasha b'chutz al-aretz asken, you have to say that it's outside of Eretz Yisrael, it's a different story. The leika maaseh, that's mitzvot al-kliyot ba'aretz, it's only in Eretz Yisrael. Yachel chalana meleika. So also chala does not apply. לעולם בארץ ולא קשיא בשבע שגיבשו בשבע שחילקו. Here you're talking about the 7 years that they conquered the Eretz Israel, and then the 7 years that divided at the time of Yoshua bin Nun. המרמר בשבע שגיבשו בשבע שחילקו, התחייבו בחלה ולא התחייבו במעשר. So they have an obligation at that time only to do the chala, but as far as הפרשת מעשר, you have to have Yerusha and Yeshiva, you have to have the total inheritance and occupy the land. So that obligation did not require them to tighten until they completed all the obligations. So since you don't have those years, the chiyuv of הפרשת מעשר, the obligation of tightening, so the right of the laborer was all depend upon the completion of work when it's come to maaser, but they come to chala, but not when it's come to maaser. So the Gemara asks, "Mi de maaser kagarim, Gemara melacha kagarim." You mean to say that the tithe that that's basically the decisive factor, that the laborer has the right to eat, the completion of the work is the Ravina, כוח הוא תנא, די ישמע, די איש מיוחד בדבר שלא נגמר מלאכתו למעשר וחלה, והוא פועל אוכל בו, אף כל לא נגמר מלאכתו, למעשר חלה פועל אוכל בו. So you go with the right of the laborer according to the chiyuv. If you have only chiyuv maaser, so you have to go by the Gemara Melacha. Otherwise, if you talk about chala, even if it's the so if you have a labor that basically lash batzek, that is a completion the dough, so you cannot eat it. Why? Because you have already chiyuv of the completion. You see the Shulchan Aruch in your idea. In 322, by Torah law, the obligation to separate chala applies solely in Eretz Israel, and only if the majority of the Jewish people living there. The Chabonim, the Chazal, the sages decreed that one must separate a small amount of the dough or bread outside Eretz Israel and burn it, so that the halachot of chala are not forgotten. That's almost like the rabbis safeguarding us, those who are in the galus. Ibaileo. Here we have another quandary in Beit HaMidrash. Poel ma'u she'avyev ba'ur. So you have a laborer, so he's seeing fruit or grain in fire to improve its taste and eat it. שיעבב באור ויאכל, מהווה כענבים ודבר אחר או לא? So you treat it as like eating grapes or something else, which is prohibited or not. So תשמע רשאי בעל הבית להשקות פועלים יין, so the owner allowed to give employees wine, so they reduce the appetite, כדי שלא יאכלו ענבים הרבה, in order for them not to eat too much grape. רשאים פועלים לטפל ביתם בציר, כדי שיאכלו ענבים הרבה. We go the other way around, that the laborers may be permitted to dip their bread in the brine, so that may eat many grapes. So it means that such a practice is permitted. So the Gemara rejected that comparison and said, 89, B, L'achshurei gavra lo kami ba'ayalan. So when we talk about the fitness of man himself to eat, so it's obvious that one may act in advance so that he will be able to eat a great deal. So the produce to eating. So the produce to eating, so he adds something to the taste of the grape when he eats it. Mai, tashma polim mochlim anavim kirashi omoniyot. שלהם, so the bride said that the labor may eat grapes. At the end of the rows of vines, you know, they go large property, you see all these rows. So, why? Because that place, the sun hits the grape and makes it much, much sweeter. ובלבד שלא יעבו בהו. There's one restriction, that they not singe the grapes in fire. So you see here that the laborer cannot do it. So he said, Hata mishum bitu melacha. It's a different story, because they basically are not doing the job. They're busy with other things. When they singe the grapes in fire. Kikam balan heichadika ishto banav mai. So you have a family there. So it's considering anavim davar אחר או not. So tashma לא יעביב ברור ויאכל ולא יחמור באדמה ויאכל ולא יפריך על גבי הסלע ויאכל, אבל מפריך יד על יד ואוכל. So you see here the prohibition of the Braita to prepare the taste of the fruit. So hata mishum bitul melacha, the same idea. That's because that he neglect to do the labor. He's busy himself with other things instead of doing the job. Achenam nistabra disal kadatach. משום מתוקי פירה, סלע, מה מתוקי פירה ירד? When it's come to this, the rock, what exactly the sweetening of the produce? So the Gemara responds, this is not a conclusive argument. So he said, it's impossible that the produce will not be sweetened a little. תשמע, פועלים שיודרים בתנים וגודרים בתמרים ובוצרים בענבים ועוסקים בזיתים, הרי אלו אוכלים פטורים. So while they're doing these jobs with the figs, with the date, with the grapes, olives, so they uprooted, they cut the produce from those trees, so they can eat the produce, and they exempt from doing tithing. שהתורה זיכתה להם, that's not the mekach, not a matter of buying that obligated a person to do maaser. Kenafshecha. Again, if you're dealing with Rabbanon, it's a different story. That is the obligation. We talk about Torah. בפיתם לא יאכלו, אלא אם כן נתנו רשות בעל הבית ולא יספוד במלח ויאכל. So again, when it comes to the bread, so they have to get the permission from their own owner. Similarly, one may not dip these fruits in salt and eat. So it's prohibited to sweeten the fruit. So מלח ודאי כאן נביאים דבר אחר נעמי. So Gemara said, ולא יספוד במלח ויאכל ורמינו. אז זוכר אתה פה לרדר ולקשקש תחת הזיתים. If someone hire a laborer to do all these type of jobs, like to till and dig a cycle under olives. So when he does that, הרי זה לא יאכל. He's not allowed to eat from the olives. Why? Because it's not completion of the work. שכרו לבצור, שכרו למסוק, שכרו ללקט, הרי זה אוכל. However, if he hire him to harvest olives, to gather any other fruit, to harvest grapes, all these examples, so he can do it, he can eat, הרי זה אוכל, הוא פטור שהתורה זיכתה להם. קצץ, but if we put a condition in advance, so that's considered מקח, אחת ואחת יאכל, שתיים שתיים לא יאכל. So he can eat one by one. He may eat without separating the tithes, but if he consumes 2 by 2, he may not eat without separating tithes. And they said, וסופט במלח ויאכל, and he may dip these fruits in salt and eat. Ahaya, to which part of the Braita this applies? When we said וסופט במלח ואוכל, אילי מהסייפה, if it's the less close, כיוון דקצץ כל אחד בא לאכול. So even if with the salt he can do it. אלא לאו הרישה. If you say that's the first part, which is a laborer who eats by Torah. So that's, we have here a proof that what? The laborer may dip fruit in salt without separating tithe. אומר רבי לא קשיא, כאן בארץ, כאן בחוץ לארץ. So when you are prohibited with the salt, That's in Eretz Yisrael, but outside, it's not. Why? בארץ קבעה ספיתה, בחוץ לארץ לא קבעה ספיתה. So in Eretz Yisrael, dipping fruits in salt establishes his consumption as a fixed meal, which render the food subject to tithe. But outside of Eretz Yisrael, by contrast, dipping fruit in salt does not establish a consumption of a meal, as the mitzvah of tithe does not apply outside of Eretz Yisrael by Torah law. So it's a different story. Rava disputed that. אמר רבא, מי איכא מידי דבארץ קבע ספיתא, מדאורייתא ובחוץ לארץ לא קבע ספיתא, ומותר לכתחילה. Even without, so because the Rashi explained that the whole enactment of the sages is ke'ein Torah. So regardless if they said that the chutz la'aretz, you have the chiyuv, even sfita b'melach, this also mechayev b'maaser, you're obligated to give tithe outside of Eretz Yisrael by the rabbinic enactment. So they said, אמר רבא בן בארץ בחוץ לארץ, חדה לא קבע ספיתה, תרתי קבע ספיתה, קצץ בין ספת ובין לא ספת, אחת אוכל, שתיים לא יאכל. Let's complete it. לא קצץ ולא ספת, אוכל שתיים, ספת אחת אוכל, שתיים לא יאכל, ואף על גב דנטל רשות מבעל הבית, הדבילו למעשר וקבע ספיתה. So the Gemara asked, ותרתי, and from where do we derive the halacha that with regard to eating fruit of two at a time? The קבע ספיתה מנהלן, אמר רב מתנא דאמר קרא, כי קיבצם כאמיר גורנה. The prophet Micha in chapter 4, verse 12, he speaks, the pasuk said, Ki kibtzam, the Almighty gathered them as the sheaves to threshing floor. So it means that this is a future prophecy, that all those nations come around Yerushalayim to fight it, and they don't understand the thought of the Almighty. The Almighty planning to have them all get together ke'amir gorna, as the sheaves to threshing floor, and therefore the result is that they get a punishment because they are collectively standing there and be punished. So you derive from that the same concept, that one who get an item together, an act that involve at least two items, is considered to have brought them into his granary, and consequently, if he also dips them in salt, he established his consumption as a fixed meal, which means that he must separate tithes. I would like to conclude with something from the Mishnah Melech. I found it beautiful. It's in this daf we find that one may not muzzle an ox while it threshes grain. So Rav Moshe David Valley offers a potent encouragement for fighting negative impulses from this. He said, and I quote, our sages tell us that although the verse mentions an ox, all animals are included. So in addition to the simple meaning of this verse, it also alludes to deeper realities. We can explain that an ox used here alludes to the aspect of gvura, might. An ox is a very powerful animal that was used for the harvest jobs of agriculture, like threshing. Threshing involved removing the grain from the husks. And similarly, in spiritual terms, one who uses might to overcome negative impulses lifts the spark of holiness tapped in the husks of impurity. Of course, this is a hard work, but there is a great reward for this even in this world. One who works to overcome negative impulses will not be muzzled. He will feel the delight of overcoming his Yetzer Hara in this world. The Saba Mikelem, the elder of Kelem, makes a similar point. People think that overcoming their negative impulses is bitter, but the opposite is truth. A person who is enslaved by his impulses live a bitter life. There is no greater pleasure than one who overpowers his Yetzer Hara. That's again, it's a Mishneh LaMelech for Beit Kalm from the Saba of Kerem.